Cyber briefing for Tuesday, the 31st of January. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Hackers have stolen the code signing certificates for GitHub Desktop and Atom. So GitHub on Monday disclosed that a threat actor group, unnamed at the moment or unknown at the moment, has managed to exfiltrate encrypted code signing certificates for some versions of GitHub Desktop for Mac and Atom apps. As a result, the company is revoking the exposed certificates, and there are various versions of GitHub Desktop for Mac that have been invalidated. List in the article we will link. Similar for Atom, some versions are expected to stop working as of the 2nd of February, whilst they sort this out. So it looks like the certificates were amongst some data that was exfiltrated a little while back. They don't really know why. However, because of the nature of this stuff, I can see all sorts of ways in which this could be used. So if you are using GitHub Desktop on a Mac, or if you're using the Atom versions, then definitely look out for patches and upgrades. Apparently, the latest versions, which were released on the 4th of January, are signed with different certificates. So are not currently swept up in this. Watch out. QNAP has fixed a critical vulnerability in NAS devices. So there is a vulnerability tracked as CVE 2022-27596 has got a CVSS score of 9.8 out of 10, which is fairly serious. So if you are running QNAP devices and you are on QTS versions 5.0.1 and QUTS Hero H 5.0.1, look for patches. So there are builds that address this. Definitely worth making sure that you are up to date, especially if you have QNAP devices that are exposed. So Chromebooks are famous for being less of a target for attackers than many other sorts of devices, not that they're immune. And one of the things that can be done with Chromebooks is they can be enrolled into an enterprise organization, which gives the enterprise administrators the ability to manage software on the device, blah, 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 all the usual sorts of things that you would do with an enterprise-owned device. However, that is dependent on shims. There is now an exploit called Shimmer, which is spelt with a 1 instead of an I, just in a throwback to Leet, which I suppose, given the name of our company, we have to say is perfectly okay. Anyway, Shimmer. It's a shim exploit which allows a user to unenroll the device from the enterprise management system, which means they would then be able to remove any particular restrictions you might have put onto, corporate restrictions you put onto the device, any enterprise spyware, if you really want to know how many hours your people are sat typing things at the console, that sort of stuff. So managed Chromebooks are common in certain environments, teachers and students, so in education, they're very common. Basically, the recommendation is to watch for devices which should have checked in and haven't for an unusually large amount of time. And bearing in mind that these things are in education establishments, and let's be completely honest, teenagers are remarkably versatile in their ways of getting around stuff that that administrators put in place to control what they do. So keep an eye out for these things. It is now there is now details on the exploit available. KeePass. KeePass is disputing that they have a vulnerability, but the non-vulnerability will still allow, under certain circumstances, attackers to export the contents of the KeePass database. So KeePass is an open source alternative to some of the other password managers out there. It's not cloud based, so the password database is maintained locally and protected by a master password, which is not an unusual way that these things are being managed. However, if a user has write access, it is possible for them to for the user or the attacker to make a change to an XML file, an XML config file, which flags the database for export. So the next time the legitimate user logs in and enters their master password, the database of passwords is then exported, presumably to disk, although I don't know whether it can then be exported to other places as well. But it's exported. This, in the current versions, this happens transparently in the background, so the legitimate user has no knowledge or no indication that the data has been exported or dumped effectively. Now, KeePass say, well, that's not really a vulnerability because if you've got write access to a device, you're in loads of trouble anyway. But actually, I'm not entirely sure that that's true. I think the fact that this can happen could potentially, it would certainly shortcut an attacker's ability to discover all these other usernames and passwords because they're all in one place in an exported database. So I definitely think that this is something that KeePass should be dealing with. Users are pushing for either a confirmation prompt or potentially a version that where you can disable the export feature. This is being thought about. It's being assigned a CVE number of 2023-24055, and there is a proof of concept exploit that's being shared online. So let's see. Hopefully KeePass will address this because I think that for whatever the mitigations are, that's not a good position to be in, where somebody with write access could potentially dump your password database. And then finally, from me, Porsche has halted an NFT launch. And the gap has been filled by phishing sites selling fake Porsche NFTs. The whole concept of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which, just in case anybody out there doesn't know, are digital assets stored in a blockchain, and so therefore there is proof of authenticity and proof of ownership of an item. And the items can be things like artwork, images, music, pretty much anything that can take the form of digital media. Up until last Monday, Porsche were offering a digital replica of a 911 for 0.911 ETH. Those Ethereum things, yeah, probably, which is about something in the region of $1,500. Well, I am speechless why anybody would buy a picture of a Porsche for $1,500. Must be bonkers. Anyway, if you are potentially bonkers and thinking of buying a picture of a Porsche at a ridiculous price, be warned that you're probably engaged with scammers at the moment, as the Porsche NFT launch was, as they say, a failed launch. Well, I'm not at all surprised about that. So there is, at least one now suspended Twitter account that had almost 11,000 followers that was impersonating Porsche's NFT dedicated account. So there's clearly a lot of stuff going on out there in this space. There we are. If you want a Porsche, save up and buy a real one. That's all from me for today. I hope you have a good day, and I will speak to you all tomorrow.